coming out. I was like, I ain't going back in. I ain't trying to hear that. I have had enough. This has been enough. I battled for nearly 20 years with sexuality. I came out at the age of 27.
This just in, the body of a transgender woman has been found in the alley on Orange Blossom Trail in Church Street.
Lord God, no, no! People with mental illness, various racial and ethnic groups, and gay and lesbian individuals. Gay individual civil rights versus civil rights, and same-gender marriages.
Listen, I know that saying he is not gay-friendly. He's gonna lose it.
Hello, welcome to Affirming Love Podcast, where we are acknowledging, announcing, confirming, encouraging, and upholding love for LGBTQ plus individuals and allies. I am your host, Laverne Simpson, advocate, leader, and member of the LGBTQ plus community. CEO of Creative and Spiritual Resolutions, where I'm a spirit guide and spirit healer. Writer, director, and producer of Love Simpson Creations, theatrical productions, as well as founder, former leader, and wedding officiant of Affirming Love Ministries, a radically inclusive ministry for LGBTQ plus individuals and allies. Each week on Affirming Love Podcast, we will be breaking down real conversations about beliefs, relationships, entrepreneurship, leadership, personal development, and growth. Welcome to Affirming Love Podcast. When I first started dating my ex-husband again, I had explained to him, because I had cut my hair off, y'all. I was bald, okay? Listen, I got the clippers. I was coming out. Do y'all hear me? So I got them clippers. I shaved all my hair off. My mom and them looking at me like, what are you doing? What is going on? She knew but didn't know. She was curious. She asked me, you messing with women, dating girls? And I was like, no, Mom, I'm not. Ended up getting married. Like I said, my ex-husband was a hoe. May he rest in peace now, child. He's deceased now, but he was a hooker. So ended up marrying, but we didn't stay married for long at all. I ended up divorcing him. And at that time, I definitely was coming out. All right. There was no holding back. I wasn't going back this time. I was coming out full-fledged. Being with him, kind of went through some things. Found out that he was cheating. I had already been through enough. Dude, you could have just left me where I was dealing with my pretty little girlfriend in Chicago if you weren't going to be right. But anyway, that didn't happen. So I found out that he was messing around and cheating. I was just over it. I was over it. I had told him when we first got together that I was dating a young lady and that I liked women. And I told him if, things between us didn't work out, then guess what? I wasn't going to deal with another man. I would go and find me a woman. And I told him that. And I meant that. So when things didn't work out, I caught him and I tried to leave, y'all. The first time I tried to leave, he caught me. Dang. I tried to pack up the kids, put them in the car and be gone, but he caught me. And so when he caught me, I had to sit and talk to him or whatever. And so he wanted to call my pastor. I had gone back to church, of course, after the domestic violence. That was my moment of salvation. That's when I was saved, going through that domestic violence. And so, I had gone back to church and I was singing in the choir again and all that good stuff. And he was like, call your pastor. You need to call your pastor. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I don't want to call my pastor. Why would I do that? Called the pastor. Pastor came over. We're having a conversation. So pastor was like, okay, Laverne, so I'm going to take you out in the hallway. We're going to have a conversation. And then I'll come back in and I'll have a conversation with him. Pastor felt like when we got out in the hallway, he was like, I feel like it's something that you're not telling me. Like you're not being fully, honest with me. You're holding back for whatever reason. And I need to know, what is going on? What happened? So when we're sitting there talking and whatever, and this dude comes out the door, y'all, because we like upstairs in the apartment, like here go the door right here. And then me and Pastor downstairs, we went downstairs to the next landing. So we went right next to the door. This dude comes out the door. Pastor say, going back in now. I'm gonna come on in and talk to you in just a minute. Let me finish talking to her. And he say, oh yeah, by the way, Pastor, my wife like women. I said, what? Bet. Thank you, sir. You just helped me come out. Because now that you done told my pastor, I got to go tell my mama. I can't let the pastor tell his wife, and then his wife go telling all the other women of the church, and then my mama get embarrassed because she found out from somebody other than me. That was my mindset. I was like, oh, baby, you just helped me come out. Thank you so much. You think you caught me this time? I'm going to make it out next time. Next time, bro, you ain't going to catch me because I'm up. I'm at my mom's house. I remember standing in my mama's kitchen, and my mama was like, Vern, you like women? And because the pastor knew, I wasn't going to lie this time. I think Mahogany called my mama's house one day, and I wasn't there, and she had been looking for me. I don't know if I broke up with that girl or what I did, y'all. Listen, that was 30 years ago. I remember telling my mom, I like women. And I wasn't going to hide it from her anymore. And I had said that, if she asked me again, I would tell her. So I went ahead and told her. And she was like, oh, my God, I'm just going to go to my room and cry. And I remember my mama running out of the kitchen and going to her room in tears. And I thought, but Mom, I've been liking girls all my life. You can't tell me you didn't know all the time that we were coming up that I was a little lesbian. And so that's how I ended up coming out. So I met this woman. She was a lesbian, another lesbian in the neighborhood. And I started hanging out with her. And she became my best friend. And she wanted me to sing. Her cousin was getting married. And she wanted me to sing at her cousin's wedding. And so I knew she was a lesbian. She had taken me out. I had told her, I wanted to go to the gay club. She knew that I was married. Also still knew, that I like girls and whatever. So she would take me to the gay club because, mind you, I still liked women. And my ex-husband, he was cool with me, hanging out with her. He let me hanging out with nobody else, but she about was the wrong one that he should want me to hang out with, but I did. And ended up meeting my first wife at my friend's cousin's wedding. She wanted me to sing at the wedding. After that, when I caught him again, the second time, there was no calling the pastor. This time, I had started talking to the young lady that I met at the wedding. She gave me a business card to call her so we could talk here and there. We were going on a trip. We were supposed to go on a trip to go and visit her. Hung out for the weekend, came back. Like I said, my ex-husband had no problem with me hanging out with that one particular friend. Everybody else, he was jealous about or whatever he was, probably because he was a whore doing his own thing. But so I had traveled and went and visited her, with my friend. And then the And I think I took the baby with me. So that was probably like the only way I could go is if I took the baby with me or some crap like that. But I came back and then I realized that, one night he was going to work, and as he's leaving the house, because our vehicle isn't running, I'm thinking, how he getting to work? So I decided to look out the window and I see this little car. I think it was like painted like the prism type colors, where it changed color, whatever it was, child. It was a different little car. And I thought, oh, that's a female's car. Okay. All right. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. He didn't want me to work. I couldn't work. So I didn't work because he didn't want me to work. I stayed at home and took care of the kids. But I had had enough. I was not going to just stay in this marriage where I was being cheated on. I was unhappy. I was just unhappy, period. And here I go. Listen, like it or not, I'm coming out. Like it or not, this time I'm just going to be me. I done tried it. I couldn't be me the first time. I still couldn't be me after that time. Then I went through the fight that saved my life. And this time I was like, I'm just going to be me. I'm going to be the me that I knew I was created to be. But no, I went back again. It was a close call, dating the girl. But guess what? I just still couldn't be me yet. Well, this time, like it or not, I was gonna just be me. Okay. I didn't care who you called. You called the pastor. You could have called the Pope, baby. It wouldn't have made a difference. I had already told my mother, why am I gonna keep taking myself through that type of hurt and pain to be with somebody when you already know where I was headed before you got with me? Why would you even waste my time? Why would you take me through now the hurt of infidelity? Now I done had a baby by you. I done married you. You know what I've been through. That wasn't enough. So I don't know what it was I wasn't doing right, but that's fine. I was like, okay, I'm done. So I got up when I was trying to figure out how I was going to do this. Trying to figure out how am I going to leave. Go through the house. Don't touch anything. Just look. Look around the house at the things that you want to leave with. Find a way to keep the car tomorrow. Get you some garbage bags. Drop him off at work. Come back home. Fill them garbage bags up. And don't look back. Now, my mama didn't know this. She gonna know it now because they probably watching it. Listen, I remembered I had to find that card that my friend had gave me when I first met her. I couldn't find that card, but I was like, I had prayed. I had been praying, y'all. I had been praying. So I didn't know how I was going to do this. And then I remembered the morning that I did wake up to do it, that night before. I don't know if any of y'all have ever heard of the story called The Burning Bed with Farrah Fawcett. I'll never forget that either. I had a dream the night before I left that I had tied my ex-husband to the bed and set him on fire. I was like, it's time to go. I woke up the next morning and I could tell you word for word, scene for scene, the dream that I had. I was like, it's time to go. Because if I don't leave now, I'm going to either be in jail or I'm going to be dead. And that's how I decided to figure out what to do. That night I had the dream and then I knew I needed to get the heck out of there. So he comes home from work with his best friend. He come home from work with his best friend and he says that he's getting ready to apply for another job. He needs me to take him to work and keep the car and go in the morning to the library, type up his resume and print his resume off for him. I said, oh, but God, if that wasn't by the grace, of the Lord come a long way. That's the way I felt, y'all. I was like, oh my God, it was grace. It was grace. It was grace that saved me. So that night, all I can remember is, oh my God, I got to find this card. I got to find this card. If I can find this card, I can leave, because I didn't want him to know where I was. So we had a Volvo. He ended up getting us a Volvo. And I did something that was stupid, because back in high school, when I broke up with him in high school, I wrote him this letter. We were in the hallway at school, and I asked him for this big old kiss and this big old hug, and I gave him the letter, and it was a breakup letter. So I took him to work. I fixed him a good lunch, y'all. I made him fried pork chops, some homemade mashed potatoes, corn in a dinner roll, and I got his favorite 2-liter pop. Fixed his meal, y'all. I fixed his meal all up. It was nice. Folded up his little napkins and put his fork in there, and made sure his meal was nice, smelling good. Got to the job where I dropped him off at and was like, give me a kiss, baby. And he gave me a kiss. I was like, no, give me a big kiss. It was just like I left him in high school. He gave me that kiss. I dropped him off. I went back home, woke the girls up, and I started throwing them garbage bags. And I was like, fill these up, pull all the clothes out of y'all dresses, pull everything out the closet. I just remember telling the girls, get y'all stuff. They was like, Mommy, we not going to school. I was like, no, we not going to school. We going on a trip. We're going on a trip. I just need y'all to get all of y'all clothes. I got the baby together. I remember him saying that it was some money in the drawer because he wanted me to go and print everything off. I called myself get all our important papers. The night before that happened, I was cleaning, looking around to see, everything that I would take the next morning without touching anything. That night before, y'all, I'm cleaning the living room. And down on the floor, I had a lamp on the table. And down on the floor, the light shined down on the card. That's how I ended up leaving. I had the dream. I saw the card. I was like, it's time to go. He came in that night. He wanted me to keep the car. It just all played out. And that is how I ended up leaving. I packed my kids up. I left and came to Michigan and didn't look back. And from there, that's when I came out. That's how I came out, y'all. That's how I came out. I left that situation, and I couldn't be more prouder of myself now. I feel that I did the right thing, and that was my confirmation. That card on the floor under the light was my confirmation that what I was doing was okay. What I was doing was the right thing for me to do. What I was doing, I felt God was okay with it. I had prayed about it. I had been trying all that time, to live right according to my mom and society and the church. And, I had been trying all that time to live traditional when deep in my heart, from the age of 7, I knew I liked girls. So here I am now, 27 years old, leaving my ex-husband. And that's how I came out. I told my mom in the kitchen that day, I went through all of those other things, but finding that card on the floor was my confirmation that it was okay. Today, let me encourage you. If you haven't come out of the closet, if you are having doubts, if it's 2026, things are a little different nowadays, but I can still imagine coming out of the closet, even at an older age, can be very hard for some people. You've lived a life for so long trying to please everybody else but yourself. What you feel deep down inside. You know who you've been all this time. You know who you've been created to be. You just can't be you. Let me encourage you, baby. Just be you. God in you. Gay, Gay, against all odds. You know, coming up in the Baptist church as a Christian and being told that same gender loving is an abomination, you know, made me scared. Uh, it made me feel like, you know, am I going to hell? You know, I mean, but I figured God knew everything always, right? He's omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. He's all at all places at all times, right? He knows all things. He's all powerful. You know, if he wanted to kill me for being a lesbian, he could have took me out at any time. I just think we get brainwashed and we're told so many things, and we watch so many things in society. And, you know, some people aren't raised in the church. Some people aren't raised to praise God or worship God. They don't know nothing about it. So it's nothing to them. It's nothing to the people who are not raised in church. It's probably a whole totally different thing for them, you know, coming out of the closet as LGBTQ plus individual, because, you know, they don't have that Bible fighting against them, or they don't have that faith community. Society has not always been accepting of it. You know, we know that we have ancestors that had to fight for us to get where we are today. But at the end of the day, God still loves you. Let me encourage you. Just be you. Just be you, baby. God gonna love you just like you are. You know, I remember when I started ministry, when I left and got to Michigan, I felt like I had to be back in church because, you know, I'm just a church girl. Used to being in the church, baby. Used to singing in the choir. You know, I owe God my life. Remember, I promised God when he delivered me and set me free from crack cocaine, I owed him my life. And no matter what happened, I wouldn't turn from him. So when I did come out the closet, when I did leave, I found a church in Detroit, Michigan, Full Truth Fellowship of Christ Church. And it was a radically inclusive ministry. So I was really glad about that because I could still praise God and be a lesbian. And I believe that God loved me. And I remember when I heard the call. We were coming out of the choir stand, had just finished singing, and I was taking a seat, and I heard the Spirit say to me, "You need to assist your pastor." At the time, my pastor was interim because the founding pastor of the church had stepped down. And so my pastor was now the new interim pastor, but she hadn't been installed yet. She was working by herself. She had a few people who I guess had been at the church, you know, trying to help out. At the time, I never thought I was going to be an assistant pastor. I just thought, you know, you need to. And I'm like, me? Who, me? I'm like, what am I supposed to do to assist my pastor? I don't know nothing about assisting no pastor. And I heard the Spirit say, there are people out there that are just like you that need to know that I love them just the way I created them to be. And I'll never forget that. And that's when I got into ministry. And I've been in ministry now for over 25 years. So just be you, baby. God and you, Gay, gay against all odds. Well, y'all, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for being here today. Make sure that you follow, like, and subscribe to the podcast for me. Thanks for joining Affirming Love Podcast. Good night, y'all. All right, everyone, that concludes our episode for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Tune in with us weekly on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Remember to follow, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you for tuning in to Affirming Love Podcast.